very first International Harm Reduction Conference was staged in 1990 in Liverpool. This year will be our 24th event and will be held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in partnership with our conference partners, the Malaysian AIDS Council. The International Harm Reduction Conference is a really unique event. It brings together between 800 and 1,000 people from up to 70 or 80 countries around the world. And it really is the benchmark within the harm reduction community every 2 years that brings our sector together in all its diversity and all its diverse voices. As the conference is put on, it's part information exchange, part networking event, part political rally, and part celebration. And it's really an event that we try to include as many voices as possible from within the broad constituency that contributes to promoting harm reduction around the world, whether those be researchers, service providers, community activists, political leaders, medical and health professionals, researchers and policymakers. All have a voice and are all welcome at our event because all of them play very key roles in helping to move forward the harm reduction philosophy and the harm reduction approach at national and international level. As conference organizers, we see our job to be building a stage upon which our colleagues can get up and showcase their work and their ideas. So as the conference organizing team, our job is to build this stage or this platform, and then also to get the biggest audience possible to watch that platform. And that audience includes not just delegates who come to the conference, but it includes other ways to get the conference messages out, whether that's via the media, whether that's via films that get made at the conference, whether that's via various types of social media, whether that's by blogging, whether that's by tweeting. That's really the mark of success for us at the conference, is how grand the stage is and how big a message we're able to get out from that stage. Because we know from the vibrancy of the abstracts that we've gotten in, we know from the creativity and the brilliance that comes from the harm reduction sector, that once we build that stage, having interesting and innovative and inspirational voices coming from that stage is not going to be a problem. But it's really about trying to build that stage upon which our colleagues can then stand upon and get their messages out there. Because clearly, part of the job of the International Harm Reduction Conference is about promoting harm reduction, promoting the harm reduction philosophy, and to try to break down stigma related to drug use, stigma related to HIV. So part of doing that is putting forward those positive messages and using that stage that we build to bring forward the really positive and innovative and amazing work that's being done by our colleagues around the world, often in very, very difficult situations. The theme of this year's conference is Call for Leadership, and it's a theme that we settled upon because we think it's one that embraces and includes a number of key messages we wanted to explore in the 2015 event. Obviously, when we're talking about leadership, a key element we're looking at is political leadership and the urgent need for political leadership at national and international level around the world to step forward, to embrace the harm reduction approach, to openly support human rights of people who use drugs, to openly support law reform that will help make harm reduction services better able to be scaled up, and also importantly to support the financing and funding necessary to ensure that harm reduction services are available, accessible, and of good quality. But we're not just looking externally at political leadership, we also wanted to look internally and provide an opportunity and a way to embrace and bring forward and recognize the important leadership that comes from within our own sector and our own community. Because we think that recognizing and celebrating our own leaders is an important element of what the conference should be about and what we wanted to bring forward in 2015. The first day's conference plenary will be on the topic of leadership in transition, and we'll explore the very important and urgent questions at the moment of transitioning away from international donor support for harm reduction to national support for harm reduction, and the important need for political leadership and international leadership in making that happen. We'll also have a conference plenary on the theme of leadership in community, looking to leadership coming from communities of people who use drugs, sex worker communities, communities of people living with HIV, and the important leadership messages, ideas, advocacy that they bring to our movement and our cause. And importantly, on day 3, we'll be having a plenary session on the topic of leadership in drug policy reform. The The conference itself takes place in October 2015, which is about 6 months in advance of the UN General Assembly Special Session on Drugs in April of 2016. And we need, at that UN General Assembly Special Session on Drugs, which will be looking at international drug policy and opportunities for reforming drug policy, it's critical that the harm reduction voice be front and center in those discussions. And so we wanted to use the conference as an opportunity to bring together civil society voices working on harm reduction, along with those of our colleagues working more broadly in drug policy reform, so that we can together strategize and look at ways to make sure that that UN General Assembly Special Session has some outcomes that help to advance the harm reduction movement around the world. A critical part of organizing a representative and diverse conference program is minimizing the barriers of speakers to be able to attend. And the conference has historically done that in a number of ways. Part of that is through assistance with visas, assistance with travel, assistance with medical services. But an important one, obviously, is about financial assistance. And historically, the Harm Reduction Conference has worked hard to fundraise as much as possible from donors to ensure that we have a good pool of scholarship money so that we can provide financial assistance to people who have had abstracts accepted through the conference program committee, but who need financial assistance in order to physically travel to the conference to present their work. And we are working again very hard this year in partnership with our colleagues, the Malaysian AIDS Council, to try to ensure a good pool of scholarship money is available, both targeted to people from the Asian region, but also targeted internationally. And we're working our best to try to ensure that for people who've had abstracts accepted, we can provide financial assistance to as many people as possible. But more broadly, for delegates, people who want to attend the conference, we're also always looking at ways to try to reduce the costs for people to attend. This year, we've negotiated a partnership with the One World Alliance, and we've negotiated, in some cases, quite significant discounts for people who will be flying to the conference using One World Alliance partners, flying on various airlines from around the world. We've negotiated discounted rates at various hotels in Kuala Lumpur. We also have a sliding scale registration fee, depending on when people register, what part of the world they're registering from, and also whether people are able to register in bulk along with their colleagues from different organizations. So there's very many ways that people can access discounts through the conference. All of these information is available on the conference website with appropriate links, including, importantly, information about conference medical services and people who need to bring medications as part of their travel arrangements. All of this information is available, and for people who have further questions or more specific needs that there isn't information about, we really encourage you to contact our conference team, who will do their best as possible to try to troubleshoot with you and problem solve to try to eliminate any barriers that you might face in attending the conference.